Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be building a router in PHP from scratch. So as you can see, I've already had some files already set up. We have the router.php, which is going to handle our main logic. Then we have the index.php, and we have this .htaccess file. Now I'm going to tell you what I've already written so far. So what this line does is that it turns on the rewrite Apache engine, and then what this does is that it checks if it's not a file or a directory. If they're not, then we want to just pass everything straight to the index.php, right? So right here we are declaring strict types, and then what we want to do is that we want to grab the path, but then we want to parse it from the request URI that we're getting from the super global, which is the server. Then we want to pass in the PHP URL path, right? Then we are storing it into path over here. So we're gonna essentially require the router.php. Then we're going to create an instance of it. So this is how I want it to look like, right? So from this router, we can call this add method, and then this add method is gonna listen on a specific path. So this, we are listening on the home path, right? Just the slash. They want to pass in a callback function. Then in this callback function is just basically going to be our controller. So we just want to do something simple. Just echo that this is the home. Then we do this called router dispatch, which is going to grab that route and just dispatch it to whatever path that we're listening to, right? So we could do that by declaring this file as a PHP file. Then we can just declare strict types. Then we set that to 1. Then we create our class. Right. Now, what do I want to do here? I want to basically create an array of routes, right? Which is going to hold all our registered routes. So it's going to be a private, right? Private array. Then we can call it routes. Then we can initialize it with an empty route, right? Now I want a function that is going to that add function that we created over here, right? I want to create it, and then I want it to get the path, right? It should accept the path as parameter, and also that callback function, which is going to be a closure. We can call that handler. Right, cool. Now what do we want this handler to do? What we want it to do is that we want it to grab that route, and then we want to grab that path and then store it as a key inside this routes array that we have, right? So to access that, we just say this route, and then we pass in the path as the key, and we can just do this, right? So this is just basically registering the path as a route in this array of routes we have here. Now we can create our dispatch method. Public function dispatch, right? First of all, let me type this. Nah, I don't think it's important. We can just type it like this and say, yeah, that's cool. So what do we want to do, right? We want to check if the registered routes exist in this array first, right? So we can do something like this. We can say if then we can call this method if array key exists, right? We want to check if the path exists, and then we want to pass in that array. We want to check if this path exists in this array, and I told you that the path is going to be the key, right? So if it does exist, then we want to create the handler, right? And then we can say this, I cannot type today, this route, then we can access that path. Now we want to call user func, on that handler. Now if it doesn't exist, then it's basically a 404, right? So we can't do anything crazy over here. We just echo page not found, and that should just be about it, man. Yeah, let's check everything. All right, so now we can run this, right? And we can say yeah, we can run it on localhost. Yeah, so that works. And let's try adding another route, right? You can say router add, you can call this about, right? And we pass in that callback function. And the same thing, yeah, we can just say this is the about. And if we want to access that about, yeah, so we get that. So yeah, that's just an easier way to create a router. So if you want to iterate on this, you can just do something like you can add for instance, you can create a router and then pass in IDs, right? Params in that router. So you could just do something like this. Then you can go in and modify this dispatch to handle dynamic routes, right? Routes that has params in it. So in a real case scenario, it can be an ID, right? Maybe we can do that in another video. But yeah, this is just a simple way to create a router in PHP. See you in the next video. Peace out.